Okay, hey everybody, I'm bringing up my screen here. Welcome to the weekly Tuesday strategy session. It is 2 p.m. on the East Coast, the cool coast. It is 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time where our guest is, and I don't know, 11 o'clock where Annalisa is. So don't know why I say that, just to ease into this thing today. You guys can hear me? Good. So everybody watching, hopefully you can see my screen. Can somebody just chat and let us know that the audio is good, and we'll get going here. Nobody ever does. So what we're going to do today is this is a strategy session. If this is the first time you're here, I apologize because the content today is going to be a little advanced. So if you're into advanced advertising stuff, you're going to love this. If you're not kind of very familiar with running Facebook ads and doing that kind of thing, just sit back and watch. There's going to be lots of content here, and just put it in the back of your head and don't stress out. What we're doing is we're going to be talking with Artie Taylor, who is the director of corporate digital advertising, which means she helps run the ads that help sell inside real estate products. But I wanted to have her on because she has a lot of experience with some of the more advanced features inside the Facebook advertising dashboard, especially stuff related to creating lookalike audiences and something called value-based audiences that I think could have interesting implications for us. So welcome, Artie.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Good, good. So before we kind of go in, to give you some context, we released a class last week, I think it was, or the week before, called Generating and Converting Real Estate Leads with Facebook, Paid Facebook Ads. We have a lot of basics in there. There's about 35 lessons right now. And we also have a nice mix of advanced stuff like what we're doing today. So if you are a total beginner to Facebook ads, like I said, don't stress out. You can find supplemental content in there and in some of our other webinar recordings. And then we're going to kind of go and reference that stuff as we go through today. Last thing I'll mention, Annalisa is on today. Annalisa curates a nice list of all our webinars here at the bottom in the additional resources.
Yep, and I did drop the doc for today's document in the chat to everyone a moment ago as well, just so you know.
Great. So yep. That's perfect. That's what I was going to do next. So, all right, let's jump in. Quick intro. Artie, you have a lot of experience with e-commerce. Is that right?
Yeah, I've done e-commerce for many years, and then I did just lead generation for the education vertical for 2 years.
Right. So one of the thoughts I had as I brought you on was, a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of the features that Facebook has built really kind of cater toward e-commerce, where the margins are really thin. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today really matters, like getting the right targeting. Can you speak to that at all?
Sure. So with e-commerce, what I hear a lot is you need to have like a lot of discipline to work in that vertical because everything's so like pinching pennies. And so translating that kind of to lead gen, especially with these value-based lookalike audiences, like the value-based is kind of geared towards the lifetime value of a customer, how much money they're going to spend with you. But we can definitely translate that into something else. So maybe if you're a real estate agent, how much money they're looking to spend on a house, or looking at different ways to attribute value to people and how they kind of help you reach your bottom line.
Okay, so we'll get to that in a minute. That's really interesting. I was wondering about that too, attributing value. So that could also be the price point somebody's looking at for a property. Yeah. Okay, and let's get real basic here to start. What are audiences in Facebook? I'm going to let you explain it, just the beginner's explanation.
Sure. So audiences are just the people you're going to show your ad to, and there's a lot of different ways to define audiences, and Facebook probably has the most sophisticated menu of targeting choices than any other platform out there.
Great. And why use them versus using the regular targeting? I'll let you take that one too.
Yeah, so when you're using the demographic or the interest-based targeting, you're really kind of shooting fish in a barrel. Like you don't know exactly what you're going to get. They get that information from so many different sources, and some of these sources can be conflicting. So maybe one day you fall into a certain audience and one day you don't fall into that audience. So you really have very limited control over using the demographic and interest targeting.
Right. So the normal thing that a lot of us do is we go into our Facebook ads accounts and we go say, oh, I want to show an ad to people 25 to 35. They're engaged. And it used to be we could have a lot of fun. We could target people by income and by home ownership, but Facebook has taken that stuff away, and they're even taking away our ability to target by gender, target by zip code, and they're making it really, really challenging. So I think the timeliness of what we're talking about today it's critical that we start to really think about how we can control our own data and build our own pools of people to target. And that's why you're here, Artie. And the other big thing too is the cost per lead, right?
Definitely. You don't want to be wasting money on demographic targeting when you can like really tell the machine of Facebook what you're looking for in a lead.
Right, so we can get a cheaper cost per lead here. And also this stuff will help us convert more of our leads into sales. I know you do a ton of work with our internal advertising for Inside Real Estate, trying to make sure that we're showing ads to the right people who are likely to pony up and buy Conversion Plus or KV Core, right? And these are the tools you use. Okay, so let's just kind of, I'm going to let you, I have some bullet points here. We have, there's 3 types of audiences. We have the website with the Facebook pixel. We have engagement, which is based on people watching, opening lead ad forms or viewing posts and videos on your site. But what we wanted to focus on today, Artie, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to kind of focus on the customer upload stuff.
That's right.
Okay, so should we do a quick little demo? I know you did a video on this the other day. Do you want to take over the screen and hop into Facebook and kind of show how we would maybe upload an audience and then create some lookalikes from it?
Sure, we can do that, no problem.
Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Artie. Does anybody have any questions so far? Are we moving too fast? How many, maybe let us know whether you've been running Facebook ads already. Are you using custom audiences? And is this topic interesting to you? And in the meantime, I'll be changing the presenter to Artie right now. Did you get the little pop-up? It might be behind your browser.
Oh, maybe it is. Let me look here. I'm not seeing it anywhere.
I have to verify it. 1 second. There we go.
Okay, here we go. Show my screen. All right, everybody see it? Okay. I'll move that. Okay, so we're going to use the data that's in our Smart CRM. Now, this is just a sample account, so everything looks a little strange, but just a quick review. All you have to do is go in and export your contacts from your Smart CRM. I'm not actually going to export it because it'll take a while. I did this earlier, so I have a sample file all fixed up for you.
So just to take a step back, I'm sorry to interrupt. In KV Core, you can currently export lists by status that they're in. It's really handy. Conversion Plus, you can't currently do that, but the broker, I believe Annalisa, can download a full list of leads.
That is correct. Yeah, so with K Plus, it does need to be done via the broker entity.
Okay, so that's less important than what Artie's about to do, which is to use the data to create the audiences. But don't, just because you're seeing KV Core, just remember you can do a lot of this stuff with Conversion Plus too. Go for it, Artie.
Okay, so here's our little sample file. And what you're going to get from KV Core is a lot more data than you actually need for Facebook. Really, for Facebook, all you need is a first name, last name, email, phone number. That's kind of the bare minimum that I like to feed into lookalike audiences. And then you have to format everything for Facebook to read the columns correctly. So what I'm going to do is delete some of these columns that we don't need, just to kind of keep it a little nicer.
So the biggest things they're going to match on is the first name, last name, email, and phone.
Yeah. Oh, did I get rid of the phone number? I did, didn't I?
Yeah, Control Z.
Oh, there it is. I see it. Okay.
This cracks me up while you're doing that. Nick Baldwin, you see at the bottom right of the screen, this happened Thursday too. He's like, he hosts a watch party every time we start these. And I'm gonna get him back. And it always shows a notification on my screen. Now the answer would be I should probably just stop showing his notifications, but I just think it's funny and clever. That guy's pretty smart. Right.
Okay, so we're gonna get our columns formatted. First name has to be FN, last name is LN. Email is fine, and then phone has to say, oh, just PH.
Oh, it does have to say those things?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, that says it's LN. Okay, and so then I'm just going to save it as a CSV. Oh, it is a CSV. Perfect. And then I'll upload it into my Facebook. So if you're not in the audience tab, when you go to Ads Manager, you just have to click on here and then Audiences, and you'll be taken there. So we'll create a custom audience.
Okay, so I'm going to slow you down
Mm-hmm.
because you and I do this all day, every day, and we gotta make sure people know. So it's usually when you're into Facebook, it's that little hamburgery looking menu thing up at the top left, and you can go to all tools. Usually, Artie, am I giving the right advice if somebody's starting?
Oh, yeah, I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, so they
um,
need to, because a lot of people are going to go in there to dashboard. They're not going to be on the audiences page already. So definitely kind of walk through, go into that middle column where it says audiences, I think.
So under
And,
Assets, you'll go to Audiences.
and in the Facebook ads course, I kind of walk through this, in short little videos. So don't worry if it's going too fast now. Keep going, Artie.
Okay. Yeah, I'll slow it down too. I didn't think about how Facebook's customizing things like for me based on what I visit all the time. So here we go to create audience. That's there for everyone, custom audience. And then you're going to choose customer file. And for this first example, we're not going to use LTV, that stands for lifetime value, but we'll get into that for the second example. So if you're wondering about formatting, you can just kind of hover over each of these little things and they'll tell you how they want the data formatted. We already have everything fixed the way we want to. So this is something new that Facebook does, is select the origin of this upload. You cannot upload something without selecting the origin. And this is due to their whole privacy scandal thing going on. So this is directly from customers because they're just people who entered lead information, and then we'll upload the file.
And I'll interject here. So a lot of you guys might use this. One big example will be for recruiting, targeting agents, or you might have a list that you got elsewhere. I'll just mention it. Generally, they'll let you upload it if it's a list that isn't your customers, but you have to tell them it's directly from customers. But I'm trying to give a word of warning without scaring you guys away. You don't want to just go buy a bunch of data and make it look fishy. So be discreet about it. Does that make sense, Artie?
Yeah, it does. There's an option here for from partners, and that's I assume what bought data means. I've never
Right.
actually used that, but I think it still lets you. They just want to know like where it's
Right.
coming from.
It used to be they would, if they thought you were buying it and targeting, they would like shut your ad down or even shut down your Facebook ad account. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
try
then
to
when
be
they started buying data on large scale, then it didn't become such an issue anymore.
right. So they got caught. Yeah.
Right. And one thing I should add too is when you're uploading custom audiences for lookalike audiences, you want to have a good amount of samples to feed. So my sample list of leads had 1,000 hits on it, 1,000 different leads. So you want to have at least that many before you try to upload these. But we'll click next. And here's where you map your columns. This is super, super important. Doesn't take long to just look and make sure we've got first name, last name, email, phone number, and then all these other columns that were just kind of garbage. It realized it wasn't formatted properly, so it's not going to add those in to the audience we're creating. So we'll click upload and create. It just takes a second. And then here is your create a lookalike audience button.
Okay. So you uploaded 1,150 rows. In your experience, what percentage of those that you upload will match and actually be found by Facebook to target?
So it totally depends on how much effort you take into scrubbing your data. So a lot of the times you can look through the list you have and you'll see like blank emails, or you'll see phone numbers that are totally garbage. And if I'm going to take a long time, then I'm going to go through those and get rid of them. But as far as matching, you're going to get the best match rate on Facebook than you're going to get on Google audiences or LinkedIn audiences. And I think a lot of that is because you're giving them both phone number and email. So they have like different ways to look at these things, because the email is only associated if that's the email they have their Facebook profile under. And a lot of the times people put in like business emails or maybe an email that they don't want to get emails sent to. And so they would use something different. But that phone number kind of ties everything in and keeps it really organized for Facebook. So I would say as far as a match rate, I would expect at least 80%.
Great, great.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so don't expect everybody to show up in that audience, but it's going to do a pretty good job.
Yeah, it does a really good job. And then we have to type in a location. I'm just going to do United States.
So I'm going to stop here. So I haven't thought a lot about this, but so you're creating a lookalike audience, which let's explain to everybody. That means a practical example would be, let's say you took all your past clients and you said, these are people who have successfully done business with me. I want to upload them all, but then I want to create an audience of people who are similar to them, because it stands to reason that I'll have a good chance of having rapport and closing a deal. Now you're picking all United States because you gotta do that. But could we target just the people in our market and get lookalikes there?
Sure. So let's do, I live in Salt Lake, so we'll just do Salt Lake City.
Right.
No results found. That's weird.
GoToWebinar slows down the autocomplete that Facebook has sometimes, and makes it wonky. Maybe you have to do it by state.
You know what I think it is? It is, I do believe for these you have to do United States. It's when you're setting up your ad set.
Got it.
Is where you'll narrow down the targeting.
Thank you. That makes sense. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so a little bit into like how lookalikes work. So down here with the select audience size is where you're telling the machine rather how closely you want your source list, the sample leads list, to match the people that Facebook is selecting for you. So these are people that have never been to your website, haven't interacted. This isn't a retargeting list. It's just people that have a lot of the same signals associated with their Facebook profile as the people who are on your seed list. So a 1% is the closest kind of lookalike match you can get. As you go to 2%, 3%, 4%, the lookalike gets a lot broader. So you'll have less degree of similarity the farther to the right you get on this scale. Because of that, I like to keep it at a 1%. You can also do 2%. I've had success with those, but really in terms of cost per lead and quality, a 1% is going to be really good. If I do go to 2%, my audience size doubles. So it's kind of a give and take there.
So what are they looking for when with a look? Are they looking name, age, gender? Do we know?
Yeah, so they're super, super vague about that. My old Facebook rep just always said, oh, it's just signals is what they would say. But what I can glean from that, when I was first getting into this, I thought it was like, oh, it's like the pages I like versus the pages they like, or the posts they interact with versus the posts that I interact with. It's some of that, but it also has a lot to do with the data Facebook has bought about its users. So Facebook has all these data sources like Experian, other kind of credit companies. Those are kind of the big ones. And then some kind of like minor data collection sources. So anything that these, companies have access to, Facebook is looking at those signals as well. So, if you think about what credit score companies have on you, like they have a whole lot of information. It's not just like how much money you're spending and where, but they'll know how many kids you have, how many kids you have in college, how much money you're putting aside every year. I mean, it's a lot of data, which is why Facebook's lookalike audiences do so well, is because they have so many different sources to kind of compare to.
Got it. And just to answer Susan's question, she's asking, what if I want to just concentrate on the surrounding states? Do I do that in a location? You'll actually do it when you run the ad. You'll select the locations. So the lookalike audience is going to build based on the whole country, and then you can filter that down when you run the ad in the ad set.
Right.
Yep. Cool.
So we'll click create there. And there it is. It says below 1,000 populating. It'll take a few hours at least, maybe a day or two, to actually populate the whole lookalike audience. But you can still just throw it into an ad set right now if you wanted to, and just count on the ad set not really running until the audience is completely populated.
Great. So another question we had was, what if you have do not have 100 leads? How small of a list can you put in there, and will they build a lookalike on? Can it be like 500? Can it be like 50?
I've never tried to do it below 1,000. Facebook always told me you needed 1,000. And I think a lot of that has to do with like giving their machine enough data to learn off of. And I think that 1,000 is a pretty good rule of thumb. If you don't have 1,000, again, it's certainly worth trying. I just wouldn't expect like great CPL results until you have 1,000 leads.
Okay.
To put in there.
Great. Yes.
Could you define what a CPL is for those who are kind of
sorry.
like, who and the what? No, it's okay. It's just, an acronym.
Yeah, it's a cost per lead. Yeah, marketing, we talk in like letters all day long, so.
Thank you very much.
Okay, should we get into the lifetime value audiences now?
Yeah, sorry, I stepped away, my dad. You wait for me.
Fine, I have to find the.
So, and another question is there a max? I don't think there's a max, Sunil. I think you can upload a pretty big list here. So while Ari does that, so practical real estate applications. Again, you have a list of real estate agents and you're doing some retargeting, and you're doing some recruiting and you want to get similar people. Another practical use for uploading, not so much for lookalike, would be to exclude other realtors. You could upload all your leads. You can buy lists from vendors, right? If you just Google buy email lists, a lot of times you can buy them geographically. You can buy lists, say, of other homeowners. So if you're doing some seller-focused ads and you want to buy a list of people who own homes, you might even be able to export that from your MLS, I don't know, from the tax records. So just a few ideas there. If anybody else has any thoughts or ideas of the type of audience they build lookalikes off of, do comment in the chat. All right, so what's next, Artie? We're going to do value now.
So now the value-based lookalikes. So like 4 years ago, lookalike audience targeting was the jam for Facebook. Everybody who knew what they were doing was really leveraging the lookalike audiences hard. And then one day they stopped working so well. And that was because Facebook outlined a new product called the lifetime value audience, which does even better in terms of getting you good price leads and really well qualified leads as well. And the way they do this is, instead of just uploading customer data, you're going to assign value to customers. So say somebody spent no money with me, I would assign them a 0 for their value. If they spent a ton of money with me, I would assign them like 1,000 or something like that. I like to work on a scale of 0 to 1,000 just because it keeps my head kind of wrapped around everything properly. But the way Facebook wants you to do it is not on a scale of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Their signals are coming from the degree of magnitude between the two values. So having values at like 0, 300, 600, 1,000, that's going to tell the system a lot more about how valuable you think people are instead of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because the difference between a 1 and a 2 is really not that much. The difference between a 300 and a 600 is quite a lot. So Facebook can leverage that in order to get you better matching. So you have to kind of like make this up yourself. And for this one, I'm going to use the average price. That was a column in the CRM, but you could really do anything. Like I've done it based off where they were in my funnel. So like a new lead would be a 0, but a closed lead would be a 1,000, and everywhere in between. But there's lots of really creative ways you can get to look at this. I've done it by like size of household or something like that. So the value column has to be called value. And then you kind of have to manually do this. So I'm going to set up a filter, and we'll start with the lowest, and we'll call the lowest average price is just going to be 0. And then we'll go through all the values. We'll do the 100,000s. And I'm going to put them at like a 250. And I'm just making up these values, but I'm keeping in mind that I need to have quite a bit of difference between the different levels of value. So the difference between a 0 to a 250, it's quite a bit. Oh, I missed
So
that one.
you're telling Facebook that for certain contacts, you assign a kind of value to them.
And so I want Facebook to target the people with the higher values at a more aggressive rate.
Ah, yeah, I never knew this stuff. Got it. So you could pull all your leads in here. Might take a little time to assign these values. You're doing it kind of the geeky way with some Excel tricks, right? But
Yeah,
you can go into these and say, hey, so maybe you had like a closing and you have like your 10 best clients ever, and you assign them a really high value.
right.
And Facebook's going to go out and try to find people similar to them. Do I have that right?
That's exactly right. Yep.
Cool.
Oh, wait, we did that one already, and we did that one. We're on these. Okay.
I have a confession. All this time, I thought value-based meant the lifetime value of the amount of money they spent with you. So
I mean, it totally can. That's what it was originally set for, was like e-commerce, but you don't have to be e-commerce to use this tool. You can be a lead generation person and use it.
yeah, so if you have so I would do my past clients, then I would do people who have listed with me. I would assign them maybe like the next highest, right? You can go down through your funnel. And this AI is going to go out and find people like them. And Artie's here to say firsthand that this stuff works and it really will get you better results in terms of your spend, right?
Yes, definitely.
Do you still need a minimum of 1,000 in these value-based? Susan's asking.
You absolutely need a minimum of 1,000 for value-based.
Okay. So everybody. So, all right, I apologize to everybody because I didn't know this. But for those of you who have bigger teams, you have bigger organizations, this stuff is still really relevant. And I think it's still really relevant just to understand how Facebook works in general, that they're doing this kind of stuff.
Sure, yeah, I would recommend like trying to get your hands on lead data from other people like you're working with, like maybe conglomerate if you can. Right?
The other thing, I think that the tax records would be really interesting here because I think a lot of us can download tax records, right? And will Facebook match on street addresses?
Yes, so you can do street, so like the street number, the first line of the address, and you can put city, state, and zip code in there as well. And I mean, you don't even need to have the street address. You could do city, state, and zip code in there too.
So they would look at, what they would do is they'd take street address, they would match the demographic profile of the person attached to that address and try to find other people like that person.
Exactly.
So there is opportunity here, even if you don't have 1,000 past clients, to do some interesting stuff with this. Absentee owners would be another one, profile-wise. Maybe. Okay, so you've got values attached to everybody. Is that where you're at?
Yeah, so now we have values on everyone. So I saved it as a CSV again. And then it's pretty much the same way to upload it. So you're going to go to create audience. There's just one little difference. Customer file again. This time we're going to say use a value that includes customer lifetime value. And so here, we're going to say directly from customers again. and I have to upload my file. Yeah, so here's all the things you could pull in, all the data that you could have in your seed list. So we've got age, gender, year of birth, date of birth, so kind of some less common ones, but definitely useful.
Yeah.
And so this, they're going to ask you to select, okay, which column did you put your value in? And so they're going to look at everything that has a number, basically. I'm going to say value. Now you'll notice that there's like this average price thing. I probably could have used that as my value column. There was no zero value, and whenever you make a value column, you want to have someone who's a zero. You have to give the machine like some kind of flat baseline of like, these people mean nothing to me kind of message. And then next, and then quickly mapping our columns, making sure everything looks good. First name, last name, email, phone number, and that's all. So we'll upload and create that. And now we'll press create lookalike. So again, I'm going to choose United States for now, and then when I make an actual ad that I'm running in Ads Manager, I can say, okay, I want these in Chicago, Illinois, or wherever it is that I'm targeting. And again, I'm going to keep it really nice and tight at a 1%. And that'll give me an audience of 2 billion people, which is really great. And we'll click create. And there you have it. Again, it's going to take, a couple hours up to a couple days to populate the whole audience.
Awesome. Okay, so is everybody following? Is everybody following here? This is all about getting the exact right person, the best possible person interacting with your ad and into your database, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so these advanced sort of audiences allow you to do that. Artie, do you want to show just kind of how to target that audience now inside of an ad set really quickly?
Sure. So I've got to go over to Ads Manager. And let's just say I'm just going to pick a campaign. And then I'll create an ad set, and we'll just call this test. And so you're going to go to the custom audience part and start typing. I started typing sample leads. So here's kind of a tricky thing that you want to do. So we're going to take the lifetime value audience, and it'll automatically put the lookalike US 1%. It'll automatically put that on any lookalike audience. And if there's any confusion, you can look over here and you're saying, okay, I definitely want the lookalike, not the list I already uploaded. This customer list one is not the audience you want because they've already become leads, right? We're not going to target ads at them. So I'm going to select that. And even better, I'm going to exclude that seed list because I've already hit these people. They're already leads. I don't want to waste money showing them ads, so I'm going to exclude them. And then over here, I'm going to say Chicago because I was born there. So that's where you're going to narrow down your location targeting. And then if you wanted to, you could add, demographic stuff. I don't know how valuable that really is when you already have the lookalike stuff in there.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing here is we're bypassing all the vague targeting, and we're letting the robot go after people very similar to what we're giving it, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
What's everybody think? Are you guys going to use this? I want to see the feedback.
Well, I have a question on the audience. So within RE, Ryan, with like real estate, with a house that maybe you just sold a house and you want to retarget people in that neighborhood or something like that, would you recommend like a 1 mile radius, a 2 mile radius? I would think a little more granular would be good if maybe you're looking for listings that are similar in the same neighborhood.
It's all based on the scenario, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be curious to see, if you upload 1,000, how many lookalikes they would find in that small of a radius, Artie. I know
Yeah.
you always do national.
Mm-hmm.
But
I just wasn't sure. I was like, huh, let me think about that.
yeah. So I think the big takeaways here, it's a good point, Annalisa. The big takeaways here is that this is probably for people who are more advanced. And if you're spending a lot of money, probably if you're running traffic for a whole brokerage or multiple offices, this is going to be a lot more relevant. But even if you're just getting started, I do think just knowing these tools exist and kind of how Facebook works and targets is helpful. So Sunil's asking, why does the reach say less than 10? Go
That's
ahead,
because
Artie.
our audience hasn't populated all the way. Remember, it said it was still populating and below 1,000. So in like a day or so, this will say a lot bigger of a number. And it
Yeah.
has to do with budget too. So I don't know what my budget is in this fake ad set. So $11 a day. But it's an engagement campaign too. So a lot of this is just because I haven't given the audience enough time to grow itself yet.
Yeah. Yeah, so Susan's saying, thinking I have 6 condo farm areas with enough contacts to reach 1,000 threshold, and their address in our tax records will be their home address. She's in a second home market, and I really like this. I mean, if you wanna find people who are likely to be like those people and own second homes, it's scary, but Facebook can do this stuff, right? They're not going to know for sure, but they have Experian data. They might work off that and see that they own 2 properties. So yeah, Susan, that's a really good thought. Another question: when you use lookalike audience, does the targeting find new leads, or some of the customers within the data still get targeted?
So lookalike is a prospecting audience. So these are people you haven't talked to before or haven't seen your ad, but to make sure, you're going to want to exclude the list of leads you already uploaded.
Yeah, and a question we get a lot is, how do I exclude other realtors? This would be how. You don't have to build a lookalike on the realtors. You can just upload them and then just do the exclude that already showing right here. You could also, in theory, exclude people who never. You could filter for people who say never look at a property in your CRM, or they never come back, right? And then you could exclude a lookalike of that maybe. And again, Artie, you're coming at this from the perspective of somebody who's always trying to shave a few more pennies off of the cost per lead, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of us are just, if we're solo warriors in real estate, this might not matter so much, but for those of you spending a lot, there's a lot of ROI that can be had from this effort, because if you can if you're generating thousands of leads, you can cut your costs from $9 to $8 doing this. It really ripples through the funnel. So cool. So it's safe to say that create the lookalike audience, then run the engagement ad the day after so that it's populated. Sunil, you can turn the ad on right away, and as people are added, it'll just run it. Right, Artie?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Great questions, guys. Thank you. Oh, I love when we get it. Yeah, Susan says I can upload our local realtors and just exclude. Absolutely. You might also want to include local realtors if you're doing open houses or brokers opens and events like that where you want them to see your stuff. So definitely makes sense to have your competitors uploaded. It was mentioned, but what are the fields required to set up targeting, Artie?
Okay, so you want to have, my favorite is first name, last name, email, phone number. I rely on having those 4 at least. But the more data you give Facebook, the better. So if you have addresses, zip code, city, state, things of that nature, date of birth, the more you give Facebook, the better. So it just takes a little bit more time to like format and make sure the list you're uploading is nice, but it's worth it.
Cool. And I have a question. So last week I did a video about using webhooks to push people into custom audiences. So kind of automatically as they move through different segments of the funnel, if they go to in transaction or close, they automatically get added to a new custom audience. That video is in the dot linked. Artie, can you build lookalike audiences automatically based on another audience or no?
Yes, you can. So if I was going to build an integration to keep adding new leads into this custom audience, then my lookalike would like morph as the new leads were added.
That is crazy. Did everybody? I'm excited now. All right. So what Artie just said is that if you're dynamically sending people into that audience using, say, our webhooks or Zapier or something, the lookalike is going to keep morphing. That's the word?
Mm-hmm.
That is really good. So in theory, it's going to get better and better as you feed it more.
Right.
Yep. Cool. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one here, but I just got pretty excited. That's.
I think it's exciting too.
Yeah, Susan got excited too. Thanks, Susan, for validating my excitement. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Artie, was there anything else you wanted to touch on with respect to this? Tom says he's excited too.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay, well, we're about 40 minutes in. Artie, this was really helpful because, like I said, this is a really vague spot in my head. And I think a fair number of people who are on today appreciated this based on the feedback. Bottom line is we can do some crazy things with Facebook ads.
Exactly. Yeah, they have the best targeting of any platform out there, so it makes sense to use it.
Great. Great. Well, everybody, thanks again, Artie, for being on. Thank you, Annalisa. We'll be back Thursday. Annalisa, do we have any plans for Thursday?
I think we do, but it's going to be amazing no matter what we do. So, we got this.
Yeah. If anybody,
I don't know what it is offhand. Yeah.
Is there anything you guys, let's do this right now, just we have a little time. Is there anything you guys would like to see on one of these sessions that we kind of haven't been covered? We've been a little bit down a Facebook ads and Instagram wormhole the last week.
You know what? We could do website content for KV Core and then K+. I think that would be good.
So website customization?
Yep. Yeah. I think that would be really good for navigation and just working through where things live and how to get to them.
Awesome. So that's what we'll do Thursday. We're going to talk all about how to customize your websites, all the different kind of levers and switches you can change to change the way it looks, right? Right, Annalisa?
Yep. We're on it. Oh, and okay. Tom saying, hey, Google AdWord and display ads. Yes, that's definitely in the mix coming up.
That's in the mix. And now that the Facebook ads course is mostly done, the next thing that'll be in the learning portal, I'll be working on that over the next 30 days, is a full Google ads class. And Artie, we'll definitely have you back for that. You've got a wealth of knowledge there too, right?
Oh, definitely.
Great. All right.
That's awesome. Thanks. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll get the recording live soon, and everybody have a great week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.